Snow White's box office is a train wreck, and Rachel Zegler's Instagram Live meltdown just poured gasoline on the fire. The 23-year-old star's raw, emotional outburst has the internet buzzing. Was it a desperate cry for sympathy or a calculated PR stunt? This is the untold story of how Zegler's rant became the nail in the coffin for Disney's $270 million disaster. Let's dive into the chaos. Disney's live-action Snow White, released March 21, 2025, was supposed to be a triumphant reimagining of the 1937 classic. Starring Rachel Zegler as the titular princess and Gal Gadot as the evil queen, it had a $270 million budget, Oscar-winning songwriters, and a director with a solid track record. On paper, it was a slam dunk, but the film tanked, grossing just $42.2 million domestically on opening weekend and $225 million worldwide by early April, far short of breaking even. Critics gave it a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences weren't much kinder, with a 72% verified score, but a brutal 1.610 on IMDb due to review bombing. Disney's bracing for a $115 million loss, and the finger-pointing has begun. Why did it flop? The problem started years ago. When Zegler was cast in 2021, her Colombian-Polish heritage sparked backlash from purists who argued Snow White, described as white as snow in the Brothers Grimm tale, should be played by a fair-skinned actress. The debate wasn't just about race. Some saw it as Disney pandering to woke culture, while others defended the casting as a fresh take on a fairy tale not bound by 19th century aesthetics. Zegler, a rising star after her Golden Globe-winning role in West Side Story, was thrust into a culture war she didn't start. Then came her comments. In 2022, Zegler called the original Snow White outdated, criticizing its focus on a love story and describing the prince as a stalker. She emphasized the remake's Snow White as a leader, not a damsel dreaming of romance. Fans of the classic felt she was trashing a beloved story, and her remarks alienated Disney loyalists. David Hand Jr., son of the original film's director, publicly said Walt Disney would be turning in his grave. Zegler's defenders argued she was highlighting the need for a modern, empowered princess, but the damage was done. The production itself was a mess. A fire on the UK set, COVID delays, and costly reshoots ballooned the budget. The decision to use CGI dwarfs instead of actors with dwarfism drew criticism, especially after Game of Thrones star Peter Dinklage called it a backward move. The actors' strike in 2023 further delayed reshoots, and by the time the first trailer dropped in August 2024, the film was already a lightning rod. Zegler's social media didn't help. On August 12, 2024, she celebrated the trailer's 120 million views in 24 hours on X, then added, "And always remember, free Palestine." The post, viewed 8.8 million times, sparked outrage. Some accused her of politicizing a family film, while others praised her for speaking out. Disney executives were blindsided. Producer Mark Platt flew to New York to urge her to delete it, but Zegler refused. The post reportedly led to death threats against Gal Gadot, an Israeli actress and former IDF instructor, prompting Disney to beef up her security. Tensions between the co-stars grew, with rumors of a falling out over their differing views on the Israel-Palestine conflict. By the Oscars in March 2025, Zegler and Gadot barely interacted while presenting together, and at the Snow White premiere, they kept their distance. The final straw came post-election in November 2024. Zegler posted on Instagram, "Fuck Donald Trump," and "May Trump supporters never know peace." With Snow White's release looming, Disney saw this as a direct signal to half the potential audience to skip the film. They hired a social media guru to vet her posts, but the PR nightmare was unstoppable. The film's marketing shifted to influencer-led interviews to avoid Zegler's unscripted moments, a clear sign Disney no longer trusted her in traditional press. Now, let's talk about that Instagram Live. On March 26, 2025, days after Snow White's dismal opening, Zegler went live, visibly emotional. She teared up, addressing the backlash, the box office numbers, and the personal toll of the controversy. "I poured my heart into this role," she said, her voice cracking. "I wanted to honor Snow White, not tear her down." She acknowledged the hate, but doubled down on her political stance, saying, "I can't stay silent when people are suffering." The session lasted 20 minutes, with Zegler alternating between defiance and vulnerability. She called out trolls for review bombing and urged fans to give the film a chance. The internet exploded. Some praised her raw honesty, with supporters on X calling her brave and authentic. Others saw it as a desperate bid for sympathy, accusing her of playing the victim to deflect from the film's failure. YouTube channels and gossip sites ran with headlines like "Rachel Zegler breaks down" and "Zegler on fire after IG Live." One X user, "I'm Mr. Romai Rome," posted on April 10th, "Rachel Zegler gets brutal reality check as Snow White disaster gets worse," linking to a video that racked up thousands of views. Another, Ayan Kwasiki, tweeted on April 16th, "Watching Snow White, live-action movie remake fail and Rachel Zegler having meltdowns," capturing the schadenfreude of detractors. Was the meltdown genuine? Zegler's emotional display felt real to some, reflecting the pressure of being a 23-year-old under global scrutiny. Her career, built on West Side Story and the Hunger Games prequel, has been a roller coaster of highs and lows. West Side Story, despite critical acclaim, bombed with $76 million against a $100 million budget. Her recent film, Y2K, grossed just $4.2 million. Snow White was supposed to be her big break, but instead, it's become a case study in how not to launch a blockbuster. Skeptics argue the live was strategic. Disney's reported $115 million loss put Zegler in the hot seat, and some believe she went live to shift the narrative from her controversial posts to her personal struggle. A Variety report from March 25, 2025, noted Disney's frustration with her since 2022, citing her contentious West Side Story Awards campaign and her trashing of the original Snow White. By going emotional, she could rally her fan base and reframe the story as one of an artist misunderstood, not a PR disaster. The fallout has been brutal. Ariana DeBose, Zegler's West Side Story co-star, seemed to take a swipe on Instagram, quoting producer Jonah Platt's now-deleted rant calling Zegler narcissistic. Platt, son of Snow White producer Mark Platt, had blasted Zegler for dragging politics into the film's promotion, claiming it hurt the box office. DeBose's post, set to Beyoncé's Cozy, read, "Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged," with comments disabled to avoid backlash. This public shade from a former ally stung, signaling Zegler's isolation in Hollywood, Disney's in damage control. The studio paused a planned Tangled remake, signaling a rethink of its live-action strategy. Sean Bailey, head of film production, left in 2024, and the Snow White fiasco has fueled talk of audience fatigue with remakes. Mufasa, The Lion King also underperformed, and upcoming projects like Lilo and Stitch face an uphill battle. Disney Plus may give Snow White a second life, but for now, it's a financial and PR albatross. Zegler's career is at a crossroads. At 23, she's undeniably talented. Her Snow White performance earned praise for its vocal strength and charisma, even from harsh critics. But her outspokenness, while admired by some, has made her a polarizing figure. A Deadline article from March 31, 2025, argued that young stars like Zegler, raised in a social media world, often share opinions without considering the blowback. The piece suggested Disney could have mitigated the damage by screening the film, early for influencers to build positive buzz, but instead, they let the controversy fester. The X sentiment reflects the divide. Supporters post about her courage, with one user writing, "Rachel Zegler doesn't owe anyone silence. She's human, not a Disney prop." Detractors, meanwhile, revel in the flop with comments like, "Zegler thought she could bully fans into liking this mess. Wrong." The dislike ratios on Snow White trailers, 1.4 million dislikes on the first, 849,000 on the second, show a public turning away. By the third trailer, views dropped to 6.7 million, a sign of apathy setting in. What's next for Zegler? She's currently rehearsing for Romeo plus Juliet, a Broadway production that could redeem her if it's a hit. But Hollywood's memory is long, and the Snow White debacle has raised questions about her bankability. A March 18, 2025, YouTube video titled "Rachel Zegler Blacklisted by Hollywood" speculated she's toxic to studios, though no concrete evidence supports a full blacklist. Still, her ability to lead a major film without controversy is under scrutiny. The bigger question is Disney's future. The studio's live-action remakes were once cash cows. Beauty and the Beast grossed $1.2 billion in 2017. But recent flops like Dumbo and Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, suggest the formula's stale. Snow White's failure, compounded by Zegler's PR missteps, has exposed cracks in Disney's strategy. Should they lean into fresh stories or double down on nostalgia? The answer could shape the industry for years. Back to that Instagram Live. Zegler ended it abruptly, wiping her eyes and saying, "I just want to make art that matters." She logged off, leaving fans and haters to dissect every word. Some saw a young woman fighting for her voice. Others, a star out of touch with the audience she needed. The truth? Probably somewhere in between. But one thing's clear. This saga isn't over. Zegler's next move could either bury her or bring her back stronger.